Ravi sir.
Okay, madam, streaming started. Please start your introduction, madam.
Okay, sir. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Sarita from NCERT. So, today we are going to discuss about CBSE how to follow the CBSE syllabus for 8th class. So, really, it is a great initiative by our government to introduce CBSE for 8th class. Uh, yeah, first of all, I want to share my experiences while translating the CBSE textbook in our in our language. So there are three textbooks for social studies. The first one is resources development, geography, and the second one is our past history textbook, and the third one is political life, social and political life. The three textbooks, what I observed is this is really child-centered textbook. The presentation part is excellent. I mean, they begin the lesson with a beautiful discourse like interaction or story mode. It motivates the students towards the lesson. And storyboards, especially for political life textbook, they use it to storyboards. The storyboards are very close to the daily life experiences of the children. So these are motivate the children towards the lesson. Next, evaluation in the evaluation part, they used very little place is given for the information questions, and they used open-ended questions. But this is the first batch they are going to face a CBSE board exam for 2025. So yeah, we all should know how to follow the textbooks in pedagogical process or examination evaluation process and everything. Now I'm going to introduce our Honorable Resource Madam Dr. Ashita Ravindran, Associate Professor from NCERT, Planning and Monitoring Division. She did her PhD in economics, and she played a vital role in preparing material for NISTA, CCE, and many of the online platforms like MOOC, and many of her articles published in national and international reputed journals. She bagged many awards, and she participated in many online platforms like MOOCs and everything. She guided now presently she is guiding many of the research scholars for PhD students. Under her guidance, four of the students awarded. And so really we are very happy to introduce such a academically so strengthened person. She is a strengthened resource person, and we are very hopeful to have great guidance and how to teach for the children CBSE textbook to the children. And thanks to Ramesh sir for choosing such a great resource person, sir. Thank you, madam. Please start your work, madam. Please, thank you. Ravi, sir.
So, should I?
Yes, Ravina, madam, it's your turn.
Okay. Namaskar and a very good morning to all of you. It's a real good privilege for me to interact with the group of teachers, social science teachers from the Andhra Pradesh. And I thank you, ma'am, for the feedback given on the NCERT textbooks. And we really appreciate many states are coming up with like taking up this textbook. And because we have done it in a very different manner from the previous textbooks, if you notice, like as ma'am has already stated, there is a deviation from what we have done earlier. And so the transaction of these textbooks also needs to be done in similar manner, because unless the transaction of the textbooks also has been done the way it is has been envisaged when the textbook development has been carried out, it won't serve the purpose of making the remarkable changes in the textbook. And especially when we also need to look at the evaluation process also, because evaluation is something which the teachers look forward when they're teaching their pedagogy. Everything is dependent upon the assessment and the evaluation part. So the students, parents, teachers, everybody is concerned about the evaluation and assessment. So unless our evaluation and assessment is also based upon the competencies or the learning outcome, we won't be able to achieve our target of like fulfilling what the textbook actually envisages. So keeping these things in mind, like what has been the task that has been assigned is like how we will be able to translate this textbook. We'll give a brief about like what is this textbooks about, and how we have what are the features of these textbooks, and then we will come out with like what are the specialities and how you will have to deal with these textbooks, taking up which we have many storyboards here, we have many activities given here, and how these activities or the storyboards or the cartoons which have been given in the textbook will help in achieving the learning outcomes that are expected from the learners after learning social sciences. So here, like as you are all aware about, in case of social sciences, earlier till class 6, if you look like from class 1 to 5, we do not have the component of social science as such. It has been taught as a environmental science subject. So in the environmental science, we have been dealing with some part of social sciences as well as the sciences, not as a separate discipline. But when it comes to the class 6 level, that is now, earlier it was the upper primary level, which we call as upper primary, from 6 to 8, we have social sciences as a separate subject, and in which we have all the disciplines being covered. And the disciplines, namely the history, geography, economics, and political science. Even though economics and political science is not covered as a separate subject area here, it is also it is included in the social and political life. So there is a shift from the civics part to the social and political life. There are many reasons also for it, which I'll just briefly get into that also. And so we deal with these three textbooks, like geography, as ma'am has already said, it is resources and development, and history, which comes with our past, and then the social and political life textbooks. So here we let me just go to the slides and have share my slide. Okay. So our topic is dealing with the transacting of NCERT social science textbooks. Here, if you look at, we have means what we mean by the education. As Einstein has already said that, like, education is not just learning of facts. It is a training of mind to think. So this is a very important when it comes to social sciences, because till now, many of us have been learned also in the similar manner that we have we have been loading the social sciences with information and facts, and it's always a rote learning. Mostly we have learned all these social sciences subject as a rote learning method, and the students or the teachers like never ever felt any interest in this thing, because we have not trained our mind to think. We were not teaching it so that the children are not just learning, getting the information. They are also critically analyzing it, their reasoning, their logical thinking, their reasoning, their ability to critically evaluate the situations. So these opportunities have never been provided. So education is actually, whether it is social sciences or any other subject area, it's not for the learning of the facts, because facts are now available everywhere. If they just Google about, they get information, they get the facts in their fingertips. But that is not what we mean by education. We need to imbibe in them that ability to think. to ability to reason, ability to evaluate the situation, ability to make the decisions. So these competencies and skills need to be inculcated in our children. So this is why like we have a change in the social science textbooks. Now going into, before entering into the what is the whole textbook about, we need to look into why we are learning the social sciences. As a teacher, we need to know why social sciences, why we are teaching the social sciences, what is the need that the child means, or what are the things that the child will acquire by learning the social sciences. Like social sciences is not just understanding about the fundamental concepts. It also enables the learners to develop a critical understanding. So here it's not just a critical understand, it's like just the information about the community. It's not just the information about the past, what has happened in the past. It's not the information about what is the geographical scenario in this area density, or what is the geographical features in this present world. It's not just like how the constitution has been made and what are its rights and duties. It's also about like critically looking at it, critically looking at how the human beings behave, how the communities are functioning. And it's not just in the local scenario, it's in the national or in a global scenario, how they are functioning. So for this thing, we need to impart the social science learning. Unless the child learns about the social sciences, they won't be aware about how the human beings are behaving or the communities are behaving. This is very important in their life. Even if they are going into the area of any science, engineering, medical, or any field, they need to understand how the people lead their life. So this understanding is important, and the critical information about that is also important. And another thing is like we need to make our children informed about the contemporary world. The child needs to be aware about the society. If one child is sitting at his room and studying and mugging up all these things, and he is not aware about like what is the society, how to behave in the society, how the society behaves towards you, they won't be able to achieve anything in this life. So they have to have a critical and informed understanding about the contemporary world. Now there are many issues which which we face in our daily life, which we find in our it can be global issues, it can be national issues, it can be our local issue also. But all these problems we are hearing, and we maybe means as a learner, as a teacher, or as an citizen, we will have to deal with many of these issues and problems in our life. So it can be related to war, it can be related to the democracy, it can be related to power, poverty, race. So all these concerns and problems which are there, there are gender and patriarchic issues, there are stereotypes which are there, prejudices which are there. So all these needs to be informed to the child. Then only they will be able to overcome or understand the situation when there is a stereotyping that is going on, when there is a prejudice saying that is happening, when there is war going on, how the peace has to be inculcated, the importance of the peace, how democracy becomes very important, what are the problems that is related to the autocracy, and how the governance can be carried out. All these informations can be imparted only through the social sciences. And it becomes very important for every child as a global citizen to know about all these global issues and local issues. Now, along with this thing, we also know that social sciences helps to impart certain skills and values. Skills I have already, when initiating, I have stated that why the skills, imparting the skills becomes very important. And that is the aim of every subject area. Every subject area by one way or the another will be building upon the skills. And also it will be building upon the values. And acquirement of these values, imbibing of these values is is very important. For a child, they need to be empathetic in nature. They need to understand the importance of equality, how justice can be provided, how to be honest, why it is important to be honest, how you can build in that trust in others, how you will be able to, means they should understand what a diversity is. Then they will be able to respect the diversity. They need to understand that there are diverse communities, there are diverse people, there are diversities existing in every manner. Like it can be in culture, it can be in religion, it can be in the caste, it can be according to the regions, it can be according to the countries. But all these people have to live together as one family, and so there is an importance that has to be given for respecting the diversity. So these values and how they can live in the harmony can be imbibed through the social science learning. When they learn about the past histories, how the wars have destroyed the countries, how it has impacted the rulers. When you look at the Ashoka inscription, like what Ashoka wrote after the Kalinga war, what he felt. So there, the importance of peace can be inculcated in the child. So the learning of these things, then when they learn about the geographical differences in between the region, the differences in soil, and why the differences in soil leads to differences in the cultivation of various products like foods and vegetables, and this leads to differences in the type of food that we consume or the dresses that we wear. So all these things are different because of certain geographical reason. It can be because of certain political reasons, cultural differences. So these differences and all the awareness about all these things helps them to imbibe the values. So this is how the social sciences can play a role in building up the values. Now, it also helps the learner in acquiring the decision-making skills. It's very important in everyday life. We need to take decisions. So every day, each moment, we are taking a decision of like, I have decided to be here to attend the session, to share with you the views and of these textbooks. It's a decision. It's an informed decision that I have been taking. So in the similar manner, our learners in their everyday life, they will have to take a decision, and how this decision has to be made. There are many choices given to them, and there are many problems associated with it. So there are many benefits also associated with it. So in this complex, and when you have a diverse society existing, how you will be making a decision in with respect to certain problems. So this decision making ability is very crucial for any individual as a global citizen. So they will be able to acquire these things through the social sciences. Now, they also need to have an ability to critically reflect on the social issues. These social issues will be individual based, or it can have an influence on the social being. My acts should not be adversely affecting the society. So when I'm doing something like if I'm suppose I'm not doing something which is conserving the resources, I'm wasting the resources, I'm wasting the water, or I'm using the plastic which is harmful to the environment. So these has an individual as well as a social effect on the individual as well as social well-being. So the learner will be capable of critically reflecting on these social issues and engaging themselves in such acts so that they will not be doing anything which goes in the adverse effect of the social well-being. So these are the things which we hope that the social sciences will be able to inculcate in our learners. And for this, we need the teachers need to be dealing with the social sciences in such a manner that it's not just imparting the information, it is to inculcate or to help the learners imbibe all these benefits. We are teaching the social sciences. So our teaching and learning in the social science classroom should be in such a manner that we use different pedagogies so that our learners become capable of acquiring all these skills and values. Now, let's just look at what are the major features of these NCERT social science textbooks. As we have already stated beforehand, itself the NCERT textbook which was been brought out after the National Curriculum Framework of 2005, has a slight deviation from the earlier textbooks. If you look at the history textbook, you will find there is a huge difference in the way the content has been carried out. Like when class 6, 7th, and 8th, in class 6, they are dealing with the ancient history, and in the class 7, they are dealing with the medieval period, and then in the 8th standard, you are dealing with the modern period. But still, the history is not the same as we have studied before. It's not just narration of the years or the period and then the coverage of all the facts and information during that period. It includes various other themes. So looking into the history, like what has been taught in the class 8 level, there is a remarkable shift from the what we have learned earlier. So the history, as a history teacher, it's not just history teaching is not just to learn about their past. It also has to be like how this past has been derived by a historian, how they are looking at the sources, how the historian finds out the facts or collects the information from various sources. This has been looked into from the in the history textbooks. So just to briefly generalize how our NCERT textbooks are being dealing with, how our social science textbooks are new, like it's a very learner friendly book. We have used very simple language in it. Now you have translated it into your language itself, like as Madam has already stated. So again, in English, we have tried to use the most simple language so that the learner can understand whatever we are saying. And then there is a good visual appeal that has been given. Many pictures have been given in the textbook. There have been many activities which are related to the pictures also to understand how they can derive meanings from the pictures. They have been given various paintings of various artists, and they have been asked like how what you will interpret from that. There are many sources of information which are being given, and how these we will be able, the learner will be able to understand the historical facts or collect the information from these sources. So likewise, it's a visually appealing book. Then it's not loaded with information. As I have already stated, our aim is not to give the information to the learners. Our aim is to enrich their capabilities, enrich their skills and values. So here you will find that there is minimum amount of concepts or information being given. Then it also looks into the ability and the uniqueness of each child. Like every children are different, like every child is different from one another. So children, when we are as a social science teacher, when we enter into the classroom, we face different types of child. When the child has different capabilities, one child may be good in their artistic skills, one may be good in their learning or some critical thinking. They will be able to collect, they will be able to there are children who are capable of working collaboratively. There are children who like to work in groups. So there are many types of children and many capabilities and uniqueness in children. So looking into all these things, the textbook also has many activities which which will take care of the needs and capabilities of all the children. There are portions where the children can do the fun activities. There are portions where the children can draw and express themselves. So these things, unless the teacher does these things in the classroom, the child is not going to gain from the textbooks. So, and then there is a visual and verbal communication. I have already stated that it's not just information which is being given in the words. It's also the pictures also communicate with the child. And then there are many exploratory activities and exercises. that will take the learner beyond the textbook. So going beyond the textbook is one which NCF has been propagating about. So the child needs to just think beyond the textbook. So for that, we need to give them certain activities which is of exploratory nature. They will be able to think more about it. They will have to find out on themselves, like what it means to, and how that can be undertaken. And then there are also activities from which they can derive the knowledge or information. When I was speaking about, there are many pictures being given. Now you are being asked from this picture, what are the ideas that you get? What do you think means at what point of time this was written? What is the period of that? What is the time period that where from this picture? What is the time period that you can ascertain that this is a picture from this time period, or what are the type of activities that have been going on during that time period? So there are many activities where the child will be deriving informations and knowledge. Then also there are inbuilt activities which are being given. This will help in provoking the curiosity of the learners. The learners at this age, especially when all our school children are very curious to learn, and it's we who stop their curiosity, their learning capability. They ask many questions, and with the moment the teacher says no, listen to me, and I am going to speak, and I go on speaking, that stops the curiosity of the learners. We have many activities which we have given in the textbook, which will make the learners curious to know about. There are, for example, there are certain statements like where from the global scenario also it has been, the relevances, the topic is speaking about the Indian context, but what happens elsewhere, that also is being given in the textbook as a box item. So there is an activity like to find out more about such type of activities which is going on in the other parts of the world. So now with their fingertips on the Google, they will be able to find out such type of activities has happened in other parts of the world also. So this will provoke their curiosity. They will be having that ability to learn. Means they need to know more, so that curiosity will help them in acquiring more and more skills in their future life. Now, coming to the next is like we also have many real life examples, because relating to the life is very important for a social science learner. As we have said before, social science deals with the real life situations. So when it is dealing with the real life situations, we need to give many real life examples. There are many case studies given. There are many stories which have been given, and all these things are real life examples. Then there are photos and visuals which describe what they see and means what they are reading. All these things are being visually depicted also. Then there are narratives that has been used. There is fiction, non-fiction, which will help to introspect themselves, and then they can discuss among themselves, looking into the narratives. They can have a group discussion. So this helps to know about different people's point of view. They listen to the different people's point of view. They evaluate their point of view. When they discuss with other people, when they hear others' opinion, there are chances that they also rethink about their opinion, and there might be changes also. There are case studies, storyboards, and cartoons given. Then also this textbook also takes care of various concerns. Like we have taken care of the gender concern to avoid all the stereotyping statements. We have taken care of that. And also we have given certain examples so that the child thinks about not from one perspective alone. They think from the different perspectives. There are examples given from the religious concerns about the environment, health, hygiene, water scarcity, sustainable development, then energy conservation. So all these things have been covered in our textbooks through various activities as well as examples. Now, coming to the assessment part given in the textbooks, we have assessments which is inbuilt in the text also, and also there are extended learning activities which are given, and in the end of the textbook also there is a summation of activities where they use like let's recall uh, or let's do. Such type of activities have been given in the end of the textbook. So the activities that are given in the inbuilt in the textbook, like when they have been given the information there itself, they have been asked to do certain activities. I would request the teachers to please go through these activities and encourage your child to do these activities. Of course, I know that once with the limited time period that is available, it becomes very extremely very difficult to cover the syllabi as well as do all the activities. But at least if we are able to do few of these activities in the group and ask these children to do these other activities as the individual activities at home, or just give these for the different groups in your classroom, this will help them to enhance their skills and values, because your role is not just to impart the information, it's also to make them acquire these skills and values, which can be acquired only when they start doing it. That is, learning by doing has to happen in your classrooms. Then there are questions which where you are being asked to imagine a situation. Imagine if this is happening and you are living there. What would you do in such a situation? So this type of things enhances their capacity to imagine as well as take decisions, like how I'll be reacting at that point of time, how I'll be responding to that problem. So responding is more important when you have to derive at a solution. So how the individual is going to, how your learner is going to respond will depend upon how far they are able to imagine a situation and put themselves in that role and find out a solution. Then there are many box items which have been given. These box items especially has been given to provide more information. And there are many students who are very curious to know. And if they are not capable of Googling it out or finding it out from others, they are given these information in the form of boxes in the textbook, which is usually not evaluated, but it's for an extra learning for the child. Then we also have a glossary. There are certain terms which have been explained within the textbook itself, and there is at the end of the textbook there is a glossary given, and also there are references which are given. This will encourage the self-learning of the learner as well as for the use of the teachers. So these are the major general silent features which have been covered in our textbooks. Now let's look at what is expected from the social science learner. What are the curricular expectations that we expect from the individual, from the from the learner learning in the class 8th? Like first is like how do these political, social, and economic issues affect their lives? So they need to know that they need to recognize that there are many political, social, and economic issues that will be affecting their life. This can be across the time. This can be local issue, national issue, global issues. But they need to recognize that all these there are many political, social, and economic issues that affect their daily life. Then it also helps in understanding the earth as a habitat of human beings and other forms of life. There are different forms of life in our earth, and it's not just human beings who are there in the earth. It's also the earth is also composed of other forms of life, and we need to conserve these resources and live together. So that concept of living together is our curricular expectation. And then through knowing, understanding and knowing about one's own region, like we know about India, or we know about our own local area, and then we are able to understand that we are also have an interdependence. We depend upon each and every other region. So the global scenario is composed of interdependence, and so they need to develop a feeling of that global citizen. So that means like we have to treat the whole world as a family. We have that culture within us which states that Vasudeva Kudumbakam. When we say that world has to be one family, world as a one family. So that needs to be imbibed in our social science learner. Then we also need to learn about, like, understand the spatial distribution of resources and how they are can be conserved, because there are many resources available to us, but these resources are not available in plenty, and we have to make choices between whether to consume these resources, whether to utilize these complete resources right now or keep for the future. And we also need to, that means we have to think about the sustainable development, and as well as we need to think about the conservation of the resources, how it can be recycled, how it can be reused. So all these things should be the concerns of the child. So this child needs to understand how it is spatially distributed and how scarce it is in different regions and the need for its conservation. There is a need for understanding the historical developments, that is especially in different periods of Indian history. Like in Indian history, there are various developments that has happened, and so these periods and how it has been classified and how we are understanding, like learning from the past, we will be able to move forward. So this learning is very essential, and also we need to comprehend how the historians study the past and use the different types of sources. So there are various sources, literary, it can be literary sources, it can be materials that are available. So from all these sources, historians try to collect the information, and they states the information in the form of like history, that this has happened in the past and this is how it has happened. So it can differ from historian to historian. So, so depending upon how the historians study the past and how they are able to acquire these different types of sources, from different types of sources, how the information can be collected is very important, and the child needs to learn so that they also start thinking like a historian. Uh, shall I continue, or somebody has raised a hand?
No, madam. Continue, madam. Please continue, madam.
I saw somebody has raised their hands. That's right.
No. It's, sorry. You carry on, madam.
Okay, next is like how to imbibe the values of Indian Constitution. This coming to the social and political life. So here we are also making our learner imbibe the values of Indian Constitution and its significance in the everyday life. Why the constitutional rights, the duties are important as a citizen of this country. How our constitution protects us, how our constitution is a guiding force for us, and how the laws are being decided, and how these laws help us to ensure equality in our society. So these things are being imparted, and we expect our learners to learn these values that are being imparted through the Indian Constitution. And they also gain a sense of working of Indian democracy. How does our Indian democracy work? How we form the local governments, how we form the national government, how we form the state government. Sorry. So these are being taught in the classroom so that they understand how a democracy works, and how every individual as an adult citizen, they have the right to vote, how they become a partner in the democracy, how much of duties they have as a citizen of this country to ensure that the country progresses or works in the as per the values that have been stated in our Indian Constitution. So these has to be imparted to a learner. And there are various institutions which help in imparting these democratic values. So, how democracy is maintained through the institutions, and what is the role that is being played. And here, our aim is not just to provide a colory picture about like our country is a democratic country and it functions very well. We are not giving that. We are making the child think about like what are the problems that are being associated with this democratic setup, where do we fail, and how we can act as a citizen, of this country, and ensure that democracy is being maintained as it has been envisaged in our constitution. So these are our curricular expectations that we have from our learner, which we expect from a learner after learning the social sciences. Now, coming to the themes that are being covered in the social sciences. As I have said before, we have many different themes that are being covered in our social sciences. And if you look at the history part, like we have political, economic, social, and cultural development of ancient, medieval, and modern periods, which has been covered in the total history from the upper primary stage. So all the political movements that has happened in the ancient period, the economic issues, the social and the cultural development that has happened during the ancient, medieval, and modern period are being covered at the three different classes. And so in the class 8, we are dealing with the modern period. And here the first chapter comes with how, when, and where we have the how the historians are working, how the sources are interpreted, and how it differs from the different perspectives. Like if you see a newspaper article, how you will be able to interpret why the newspaper is reporting such situation in such a manner. So when we are, if the newspaper is being published by the local ruler, how it has been stated, and how it has been stated when the newspaper is being published by a British ruler. So these type of things have been discussed. How the historians are working has been briefed in the first chapter. Coming to the second chapter, we have from trade to tertiary. That is like there is various the East India Company which has come for the trade. How the that company which has come for the trade has means become colonized India, and how it has an established territory in India. So this movement has been explained in the second chapter. So the political power has been acquired and how it has been consolidated so that they build the colonial structures in India. So this has been explained in the second chapter. The third chapter deals with the rural areas, like ruling the countryside, how the rural society, what are the changes or the developments that has taken place in the rural society. Then there are tribals, Dikus, and the vision of the golden age, which where the different forms of the tribal society and how the tribal society has developed and evolved has been given in this section. There is the when people rebel. Here they have statement like how revolts have originated, like from the reference of 1857 revolt also has been given, how the rebel happened and what were the reasons and how it evolved and how the process of its happening has been explained in this chapter. There is a chapter on weavers, iron smelters, and factory owners. This is how the history becomes very different here, because we do not have a sequencing of that. Even from earlier, we have done from 1857, if we start the revolt and then we end with the Indian independence, or it continues further. So from there, it is a history of the weavers. We are having the history of the weavers. We are discussing about the iron smelters. We are discussing about the factory owners' history also. So how the indigo cultivations happened in the country, and how there was problems associated with the indigo plantation. And also there is discussions upon like how these indigo plantations and cultivations happened elsewhere in the world also. How the slaves were used for the cultivation. How the rulers ensured that the indigo cultivations happen. So this has been discussed in detail. Then the technology of the how technology has helped in weaving, how they changed the patterns, how it changed the life of the weavers, how they were impacted by it, adversely impacted by it, All these things have been discussed there. Then there is a civilizing the native on educating the nation. Here we deal with the new education system, how how it changed the indigenous system, like how the Britishers established the missionary schools and how the English education became important, the language change, like how the complete system of our indigenous education system had a major change to the new education system. So these have been discussed in that chapter. And we have a discussion about the woman, caste, and reform. This is what I said earlier itself. Like we have various concerns which we are looking at. So when we are discussing about the industrialization, if we do not speak about the contribution of the woman in that, if we do not speak about like how caste system had an importance in the works that had been distributed, how the reforms happened, who were the reformers, how these reformers have helped in building the economy. These, if we are not dealing with these things, then we are not looking into the concerns in the history. So history, in our history textbook, we have given a separate chapter where we are dealing with the woman's condition, the reformers, and we are also discussing about the problems that they had faced during that period, the child marriages that were happening, the widow remarriages, the reforms that is being made, that is the widow remarriages that happened, and the sati that was happening, the problems associated with that, how the reforms took place, and who were these reformers, and how these reformers contributed to it. So from the perspective, the child understands that from the woman's perspective, how important it was to bring out these reforms in this world. Then we also have the making of the national movement as the another chapter, where the period from 1870s to 1947 has been covered, how the national movement has the major developments that has taken place, and also how there we are given many writings and documents which pertain to the Britishers, as well as which pertain to the native historian. So the differences have been shown, how we will be able to interpret the history from various writings, and why these writings are different from one another has been shown. Then we have India after the independence as the last chapter, where we have the success and failures of the Indian democracy in the last 50 years, how Indian democracy has progressed, what are its features, and how it has been for the last 50 years have been discussed. And here there are many newspaper articles, many writings which have been used extensively to understand the contemporary history of this today's world. So this will help the learner to understand what is happening, how they can interpret what is happening, and they also understand the views, and they understand that today when I am reading a newspaper, it's not that everything that comes in the newspaper is a correct information, it's a fact. I will have to find out what is the fact from that, reading through the newspaper, from whom it has been published, why it has been written in this manner, what is that the media is trying to please. It becomes very important for a individual or the learner to understand this, because this will help them to move forward, take a decision in their life, understand the democratic functioning of this whole thing. So media, understanding the media and how the democracy has evolved and how it is functioning, our states are functioning, or the national governments are functioning, has been given in this chapter of India after independence. So this is how the history has been dealt with. Now, coming to the geography, the themes covered are mainly it is dealing with the resources and development, as the textbook title itself says, resources and development. So it shows the various resources, the variety of resources available, which are the locations it is available, and how it is distributed. So how it is important, these resources are important in our life also has been given. So there we have in the second chapter, we have the land, soil, water, natural vegetation, and wild resources also being covered. So it's not just human resources which has been given important. We have other resources on the earth which is available in varied quantities and varied types in different parts of the country. So depending upon this geographical distribution of these resources, there are cultural differences, there are many differences, diversity is happening in this world because of this geographical differences. So this has been brought out in a textbook. Then we have the interdependence of environmental components. We have various extensive coverages about the mineral power resources. We have covered the agriculture resources. We have covered how industries are functioning, how industries are available in these areas, why certain particular industries are available in certain area, why the industries flourished in certain areas while the agriculture were flourishing in other parts of the country, and how the human resources have helped in the development of the whole country also has been given in our geography textbooks. The human as a resource has been given more importance. It's not just human beings, it is also considered as a resource. So how important human beings are as a resource in developing the whole region. Like if the resources are to be utilized, there is a human skill that has to be imparted so that the resources can be utilized. Now, coming to the next textbook, that is the social and political life. As I've said before, this includes both the political science aspects, civics aspects, as well as the economics aspects. So you are all aware, means earlier we were dealing with the civics where we had the information about how the government functions, what is the reality. It was just given as the reality. This is the situation. As facts, it was given. Now this textbook provokes a child's curiosity. It provokes a child's thought process so that the child starts thinking, why is it so? So this is how the social and political science textbook is different from the earlier textbook. As Madam has already stated, like we have various cartoons, storyboards, all of this been included in the social and political life textbooks, which helps the learner because it's dealing with the actual immediate life of this learner. So we have extensive usage of activities where the child is put into a situation where the child starts to think about what is the issues and or what are his understandings, his or her understandings, and how it has been different. It is different from the other people. So here the major coverage is about the Indian Constitution and how the secularism has been imparted and what is this meaning of this word secular. When we have stated the secular in our Indian Constitution, how we have to deal with that word term secular in our day-to-day life. Then we have the working of the government, the various functions that the government, various state governments or the national governments, local governments, how they function. Then the religious freedom of the individuals has been dealt with extensively, and how the parliament or the governance is ruled by the laws, and how the judiciary makes these laws and how it is related to our Indian Constitution, how the laws take into consideration our Indian Constitution as the its main document where it abides by all the constitutional rights that has been given for the individual. So what are these constitutional rights? How, when and where we are breaking these constitutional rights, we are given various situations are being given. And the child is being asked to write, like, what are the constitutional rights that the child feels that it is not being violated, it is being violated there. Likewise, we have the judiciary system, which is functioning. So there is a discussion about the judiciary system, then how it is the judicial structure functions. Then we also have a section on a chapter on, which deals with the social justice and the marginalized. There are marginalized groups. The child needs to be aware about like how who are these people, how they are being marginalized, and how we will be able to impart social justice to all these groups that belong to the society. Then we also have the another chapter which cover two chapters are there which covers the economic presence of government. Here we are dealing with how the government has makes its economic presence. That means like how the government is performing for the citizens, like how, what are the type of, here we have the public facilities which is being dealt with, like what are the type of public facilities that the government gives, why it is important to give these public facilities to the government, what is the importance of public facilities in the life of the each individual. So the citizens of the country, why they need the public facilities, and how we can ensure that the government provides these public facilities so that all the citizens of the country is equally able to enjoy these public facilities. So this has been dealt in the chapters of social and political life. We also have a discussion on the Bhopal gas tragedy, where the Photoshop sessions have been given, and the child needs to think about it. Child needs to be aware about these issues that happen, the problems associated with it, and how we can ensure that these problems does not happen in the future. So these are about the major themes that have been covered in the social science textbooks. Now let's look at our the session on like what are the, we have already generally I have stated about like what are the different ways in which the textbooks have been made, and how the it is how it is interactive in nature. So here you can see there are boxes which says that let's imagine. So here it is a conversation between, here it is the chapter deals with indigo cultivation, and here there is a conversation. You have to imagine that the planter and the peasant is having the conversation between themselves. The planter is saying, no, you have to go for the indigo cultivation. Now, how will the planter persuade the peasant? What are the things that the planter will tell to the peasant? No, this land is good for the indigo cultivation. How you have to do it because of these benefits, or how they will be forcing the peasant to cultivate indigo. And in return, what will be the reply of the peasant? So the child imagines the situation, child understands from the textbook what are the concepts, what are the problems that was happening in the country with respect to the indigo cultivation. So that has been already given in the textbook. After reading that information, the child starts to imagine things. Then there is an let's do activity. So there you are observing the land or the type of soil, that it's all different in different countries. So how these land, soil, water, or the resources have influenced the lifestyle of the people. So let them make a chart about in different localities. These were the type of, this climate also is a main factor. So according to their lifestyle, the type of food that we eat, all are dependent upon the soil that is available there, the resources that is available there. So this understanding, for that, they have given an activity of let's do. There is another activity which says that imagine that you have come across two old newspapers. That is, one is during the death of the Tipu Sultan. It has been written by a British paper, and other is from the Mysore. So from the from Mysore, it has been from the country, from Indian perspective, the newspaper is reporting the death of Tipu Sultan. How it would be different. So they are going to imagine. This is also an imaginative activity, but they understand that there is a two types of perspective that exist. When the Britishers are reporting something, this is how they will be reporting. They will be in their favor. They will be reporting it. When it comes to our own country, then how we will be reporting it. Then another is the activity on related to the soil. So there are different, as we are already aware, we have different types of soil that is available. And how are these soils different? So let them bring that soils to the classroom. Let them observe these different types of soil and classify the different types of soil. Then there is an activity given like, do you know? I have taken these from the various parts of the textbooks, from social sciences, like all areas of textbook, like geography, history, and social and political life. So we have, do you know? Here the child is being made aware about like how important it is to close the tap by a simple when you are speaking about the whole water conservation, water as a resource, you have been explained, and on the side you are just writing that a dripping tap, when the drops of water is dripping from the tap, it amounts to 1200 liters of water in an year. So the child needs to be aware that the dripping tap needs to be closed properly, because it is also losing of water as a resource. So these type of things are given. There are interesting facts which are being given, like about the organic farming, how what is organic farming and how it is. Means what is the difference of organic farming from the other type, farming that is existing. So this has been given as an interesting fact. And there are things that are given as word origin, from where this word has, from where, for example, here it is agriculture, from where this word of agriculture has originated. So such type of facts, like it becomes, the child gets engaged in the textbook. So it's not just reading certain information and facts. It's also looking into the textbook and understanding many things, doing many activities. And there is, do you know, like they have given, it's all facts, information that is being presented here in this, do you know? They have given the what is it means to be agriculture, what is sericulture, what is pisciculture, what is viticulture, what is horticulture. So all these things have been pictorially represented, so that it becomes very attractive for the child, and the child reads it and understands the information. So this is how interactive our social science textbooks are. So we have a teacher's note also in the beginning, which has been given. Initially, please go through these teacher's note wherever it has been provided, because this will give you an understanding about how you will have to go through the textbook, especially when we have a remarkable change that has happened in the way it has been dealt in our textbook, mainly the history and the social and political life textbooks. So it's very essential to read the teacher's notes, so that we get an understanding what has to be imparted to the learners, how we have to impart these to the learner, these informations or the skills and competencies to the learners. Now we have activities and explaining the things that I have explained before. It will be coming again and again here also, because we have various activities and experiments given in our textbook. For example, here if you look at this, it shows how the news. It is all the various newspaper reports on the California fires have been given. Now they have asked, you have to read the news and find out how the fire has started in California. So from various newspapers have reported in different manner, and looking into these newspaper reports, the child is required to write what could be the reason for the origination of the fire and how it can be avoided. So this gives an understanding about how the newspaper is reporting about the fire, and what are the facts related to the California fire, and how this can be avoided. So there are many, not just the information about the California fire that has been given here, it also gives the information about how the fire can be prevented, and how there is if you have it, suppose it can be a natural fire also, it can be caused by the lightning. So how this lightning has related to led to the natural fire, and what are the steps that you can do so that if you have a well coordinated structure, a network is there where immediately an information about a small fire is being given to the concerned people, and they immediately rush to the point so that there are measures are taken so that it does not spread further. So these type of activities, they also start thinking about new type of conservation measures, or how this fire can be avoided. They can come up with innovative solutions also. Likewise, we have some a few experiments, even though it's not a science textbooks where we have large amount of scope for experiments because we deal with the human beings. But still, there are various experiments also being given. Like here, one activity is of to show about the soil erosion, how we will be making our children learn about the soil erosion. Here we have a tray where the soil is being there put, and in another tray where the wheat or paddy is being sown, so that the seeds grow. And when it grows a little bit, start watering it, put lots of water into it, pour lots of water into it, and you will see that the soil in one tray, when it is kept in the tilted form, soil in one tray is going down, and in the other tray where the cultivation has happened, it's not moving that much down. So this shows that how the plantations of crops will help in evading the soil erosion. So such type of activities and experiments are being given in the textbook. You need to conduct these activities as well as experiments in the classroom so that the child gets a first-hand experience of it. Now we have narratives also being given. This is not just attractive for the learner. It also provides a very good information about means narration about a situation, and they start thinking about it. So it's interesting to read such type of storyboards, as well as it makes them think. So here there is a monitor who is taking advantage of his situation of the being a monitor and harming other students by telling the teachers, which has not happened in the classroom. So like he is misusing his power. So this gives an awareness about the child is in their classroom, how the power can be misused, and this is a reference to their tomorrow's life. Like in tomorrow, when they enter into the work of life, they will find many such situations where the power has been is being misused. They also becomes aware about like how to avoid such situations of misuse of power, and how they themselves should not be misusing the power they have. So there is a question being given, like in which of the following situation is the minister misusing his power? Like when the minister is sanctioning a project, refusing to sanction a project, stating that it is technically there are many reasons this is not a viable project, so the minister is refusing. Do you think that there is a misuse of power? No, there he is refusing because there are certain technical reasons for that. So if you have a valid reason, and if the minister is refusing it, it's not a misuse of his power. He is doing his duty, which where he has to look into all the reasons, or the what are the causes, what are the damages that can happen, what are the benefits that can be derived from this thing. So looking into these things, they will be sanctioning the projects. So there the minister is not misusing the power. Now, if the minister says that he is threatening the security staff, like because he has a fight with the neighbor and the security staff has been sent there, and then threatening that is a misuse of power. Then police station, you are not allowing the police to act according to the rule of law. So there also there is a misuse of law. So these type of situations are being given, narratives are being given, and they are being asked to reason out like what it means to misuse, and what it means to means act according to the rule of law. Our textbook being very colorful, we have many colorful maps being given. There are sketch activities also being given. For example, here there is an political map of India which has been given, and we are being asked to, the learner has been asked to write down what are the which are the states which share the borders with the neighboring nations. So they understand which are the neighboring nations and which are the boundaries of the Indian territory, where the Bangladesh, which are the states which have the share the boundaries with the neighboring nations. Then there is another sketch activity which is being given. They have to understand the difference between the map and the sketch, and how the sketch, using a sketch, how they will be able to understand. Here, this activity is related to industries. Like they have shown where the raw materials are available, where the railways are there, where the roadways are there, how the transportation has been available, which is the place where the more population is there, where people live, and where the land is available. All these things have been shown in the sketch. Now the child has to find out which will be the suitable area for locating their industry. So finding a location of industry can be a day-to-day daily affair in the coming year. Means after their education, maybe they might have to take a decision on these things, whether they are in the as a part of the government, or as a part of the individual, or as a part of the firm. So how they will be taking these decisions, what are the guiding principles that they will look into, what are the problems they will find out, that way if this industry is located in this area, how the people in that area will be will find it problematic, what are the pollution impacts of that industry. So there are many concerns, environmental concerns, that the child needs to take care of. There are many other factors, like how the transportation can be done, what is the cost benefit analysis, like how much of cost is involved in this transportation of the raw materials to the other place, and what are the benefits attached to if we are making a particular industry there. So they start thinking about many things from different perspectives, and this can be done as a group activity, where the children speak about from their own perspective, like how it will be impacting. So different people are students are coming up with different ideas, like this can be here because this is the best place, like these are the reasons for it, and if it is here, they are also arguing with the other group which says that no, this can be located at this place. So they come up with this different arguments, so and logical points. So they are acquiring the skills and competencies of reasoning, critical thinking, making a decision, evaluating the problem, have showing concerns, and more of all, listening to others. So these type of activities are being given in the textbook. We also have a portion where there is a recapping of the information. The suppose like many informations also are being given in the textbook. So like when we are dealing with the constitution, what is the role that they play in the democratic societies, and what are the rules that are being stated, or the constitutional rights that are being provided is being given. Now the child has been asked to, they have been provided various examples, and they have to write the constitutory rules regarding that. There are various situations being given, and they are asked to write what are the fundamental rights that are being violated in the particular situations. So the child has read what are the fundamental rights. Child is aware about the fundamental rights. It's not just mugging up the fundamental rights. It also, this will help, this activity, doing this activity will help us to understand that the child has actually understood what fundamental rights says, and when and where these fundamental rights are violated. So these type of activities are being given, which helps in recapping the information. So it's towards the end of the class. If you are doing such type of activities, it will help you to understand that how the how these informations, how the child has understood or gathered these information, whether they have actually understood all the facts and information that are being provided in the textbook. Mm, Now coming to the value education, we have already when we were stating about the curricular expectations. Uh, Sorry, can I shall I just request everybody to mute yourself? Like there is some disturbance happening. Okay. Coming to the nurturing of values. So we have many examples, many activities which are given in the textbook, many pictures or posters that are being given in the textbook, so that will be able to nurture the values within our children. So like here, if you take one example, here is a poster which has been given where it says peace is a never-ending process. It cannot ignore our differences or overlook our common interests. It requires us to work and live together. So the statement has been given, and also it has a description about how the peace is destroyed and how it is important that the peace is coming from our heart. It's not just like peace is maintained when there is a fear. So that should not be the situation. It should come, peace should be prevailing in any country, when because everybody likes to live in peace, and it is coming from the heart, and not because like there is somebody who will be punishing you. So these type of posters have been given in the textbook. So then they have been asked like what these sentences convey, and how what is the importance of having this religious tolerance. The poster actually depicts how the peace has been destroyed inside when there is a calmness that has been created because of fear. And there are many drawings of students also being given in the textbook, like where it shows how the religious tolerance. So the students have made many drawings, and this also has been given in the textbook, so that it encourages a child to make their own drawing. So when the child sees how the other children have depicted the peace or the religious tolerance, or it can be environment conservation, water conservation, energy conservation. So on these topics, you can have ask the child to make posters on their own, so that they try to put all their ideas in the form of the drawings. There will be many children who are capable of drawing well, putting their ideas. So this can be encouraged through such type of activities. This is very important that we have already stated social sciences deals with the real life situations. Now, when we need to also sensitize them to the real life situations, whether it is poverty, whether it is like the sanitation situations. So there are many such type of examples which have been given in the textbook. Like we have photoshops from the Bhopal gas tragedy, which will provoke the child to think about like what is the situations and how the what is the presence of government there, what is the role that the government has to play there, how especially in case of sanitation, how the sulab toilets are being made, and how important it is for such type of people to have proper sanitation facilities, and how it will help the health and well-being of the whole of the society. So how does it impact the women and girls? So they become sensitive towards how what is their problems that they face in the life. If we do an activity of let them go and find out in their the people who live on the streets, let them talk to them and find out what are the problems. So they are understanding, we are sensitizing them towards the actual reality in their life. So what are the type of problems, and what are the things that you will be able to do, so that the people in the society have proper sanitation facilities, are able to take care of their health and well-being. So such type of pictures, photoshops are being given in the textbook. This is not for evaluation. It's basically for enhancing their understanding, to make them sensitized towards a society. We also have, even though it's not loaded with information, but there are many terms and concepts which might not be very familiar for the child. So these terms have been explained and defined properly wherever it is necessary, like inside the textbook, when the text has been written, there itself we have the explanations given for various terms, and also there is a glossary which has been provided separately at the end of every chapter. Now, this again, it's coming to the same thing, like how you can relate the concepts to the real life. So here, when the teacher is dealing with the resources, and what are the things that becomes a part of resource, which are the resources, and which things you will not consider as resources. So, and there are various types of resources that are available. So how you will be able to understand is being given in a story form. So that teacher can initiate this class. It becomes very interesting because it is related to their life. Like when they are saying that the electricity that you use in your house, the water that you drink, or the rickshaw puller that comes, rickshaw that is coming to your house, the textbook that you are studying, all these things are resources. And even the snacks that you are eating, which your father is making. So here the gender concern is there. Like here we are taking care of that. It's not just mother who is making a tasty
Excuse me,
snack. It's
madam.
also father who
Madam,
is
excuse me,
making.
madam. Madam, excuse me, madam.
Yes, yes.
Madam, participants are requesting to just zoom the slide, madam. They are unable to see the letters, it seems, madam. Kindly, madam.
Uh,
Just zoom the
Actually, it's in the slideshow
slide size,
itself.
madam. Yes, it is okay, madam. Now.
Uh, this
Yeah,
has
madam.
been clippings have been taken from the textbook, so I think only this much big it will be.
Okay, madam. Now it is okay, madam. Please carry
You
on,
can
madam.
just refer to the textbook. It is given in the. I've given the captions there also,
Yeah,
but
madam. Yeah, madam.
I don't think you will be probably able to read these things because, as you have said, it is the clippings from the textbook itself.
Okay,
So
okay,
maybe
madam. Thank
I
you.
won't be able to zoom it out.
Please, madam. Please carry on, madam.
Okay, so with this type of stories have been given where it is related to the child's life itself, like it's from their immediate surrounding, things are being picked out and resources have been referred to. So such type of real life examples have been given in the textbook. Then, when we were speaking about the concerns that the social sciences have to take care of here, means even poems have been used. So, child who is interested in the poems will be curious to know about it, read about it. Here, the poet Abdul Rahim poem has been recited, which speaks about the water conservation. That Rahim has to keep water, and without water there is nothing. So there cannot be pearl, swan, or dove cannot exist. So this has been stated in the poem, and now the child is asked to, like, what kind of resource is the poet referring to. So the water as a resource, the child needs to understand that water is also a resource, and what would happen if the resource disappeared. So the poet already is stating that nothing will exist after the if the water is not there. So the child needs to imagine now the situation is not such that the water is not there. So child needs to now imagine, like, what will happen when water is not there, how the plants will survive, whether you will have any plant, which what plants are not there, whether there will be animals, if animals are not there, if whether we'll have we human beings, animals as well, human beings also survive on the plants. So if water is not there, nothing in this world can exist. So this water as an important resource has been covered using a 4-line poem. In the history, as I have said before, history is not just learning about the past. Here, when you are learning about the past, when we are making our learner know about the past, along with that, we also are making our learner to think like a historian. various situations are being given. And there are sources from Sitaram Pandey's writings is given. So, and Vishnu Bhatt writing is also given. So there are different sources being given in the textbook. And from these sources, they have been asked to write about it. They have to write like what are the things that had happened during that time period, what are here the explanation is about, because you are not able to read, I'm just telling. It is related to the cartridge 1857 revolt, where the fat of cows and pigs have been used in the cartridges. This information has been given to the people, and the boys are starting to feel bad, and they are revolting it because the how the it affects the religious sentiments. So what are the concerns in the minds of the people during this period? So you have different two sources given, and what role did the rulers play during this period, and what role did the sepoys play? So all these things, they are trying to assimilate the information from the sources. So looking at the various writings of various people during that time period, the historian tries to find out what had happened during that time period. So the past has been assimilated from the information that is provided in the sources. So these sources are given as such in our textbook in ample number. Means most of the chapters have, there are many sources being given. So looking into the writings of these, or looking into the pictures that has been given, the child needs to find out what are the historical learning or the informations that the child can find out. So this will enhance their historical skilling. Not everybody is not going to be a historian, that's for sure. But at least this skill of knowing about it, reading about it, how you will assimilate the information, how you will understand that, and how you will reason it out is all very important for every individual. So even if they are not going to enhance their historical skills, or like if they are not going to become a historian, still it becomes very important for every learner to think like a historian. Now, I have already stated about this thing earlier. Like we have stories from global scenario also given in our textbook. Even though our text is dealing with most of the whole of the text is dealing with the Indian situations, and it's speaking in the Indian context, still we have given many stories from the global scenario, like how when something is happening in our country, what was happening in the other countries, like at the same type of things. Like there are many paintings which we have in our country during which pertains to a various time period, and which has been replicated in other countries also. So how this similarities happen is also a thought provoking situation which is being provided to the children. Like when indigo making was happening in India, when we were having problems where the people were revolting against indigo cultivation, what was happening in the West Indies, how the slaves were used in West Indies to cultivate these things. So the similar situation where our peasants were also forced to cultivate the indigo, the same similar situation was happening in the other countries also. So such stories have been given in our textbooks. This is also related to our making of the history, like how history can be formed from the sources. As I have said, our first chapter itself deals with, from class 6 onwards, you will see that the sources have been given much important. How from the various sources, like this is a clipping from the Rig Veda, how the Vishwamitra and the rivers are speaking. It is a conversation between the Vishwamitra and the river. So here our learning outcome is to identify the different types of sources and describe how you can use these sources to reconstruct the history. So reconstruction of history or the making of the history, learning about what has happened is all from the sources. It can be in the form of coins, it can be form of pictures, it can be in the form of writings, it can be oral history that has been prevailing. So from all these things, we collect information and try to reconstruct the history of that period. So here there are various questions that has been given where you need to discuss these type of questions in your classroom, because these boxes are not just meant for just for a decorative purpose. It is unless you have a discussion based upon these sources which has been given, we won't gain much out of the presence of the source in the textbook. So you have to have certain discussions regarding that, like do you get an idea of the place where this hymn has been composed, and there are many animals which has been stated here. Which are these animals, and what are the importance of these animals in their lives? Of what importance do you feel? Because here the cows and horses have been given much importance. So that means this was very related to their life, day-to-day life. May this way the things which were very important to them. These were the animals which were very important to them. So then there are, what are the other important things that you get to know from these lines? Do you get an idea of the mode of transport from this verse? So they need to look into the source, and they will find that there are chariots being specified. There are carts being specified by Vishwamitra. That means these are the transportation methods that have been used during that time period. So this is how the historian collects history or the makes history from the sources. So the child gets a slight idea about like how history is formed or constructed. Now, we have already stated, along with the social science learning, along with the skills, we also would like to have value inculcation among our learners. So this is also an important objective of the social science learning. Now, if you look at the Ashoka's inscription, like which Ashoka wrote after the Kalinga War. So like here he is speaking about like how he felt when his own relatives, friends, slaves, servants, everybody is dead. And now yeah, like after that, after winning, if a ruler is feeling so, why the ruler is feeling so? There are many questions which can be asked pertaining to that. Like this, the initial questions are all pertaining to the information regarding the history, like identify the type of source, who got it written, why and where was it written. So the Ashoka's inscription, looking at the inscription, the child will be able to find out that, okay, Kalinga War ka reference hai. So Kalinga War was during that time period. So this was written after the Kalinga War. So that means this was written during this time period. And to whom was it written? Why was it written? So it is for the people, for all the people, to public to know that the Ashoka is stating that what is his feelings after the war, after winning a war, what is that the ruler is feeling. So why was it written? What was the reason for Ashoka writing that? Ashoka wanted a Dharma to prevail. Dharma should be there. There should be peace in the country. So he is feeling against the wars. Even after winning over the war, he feels that when there is so much of misery, when you have lost so many people in the war, then what is that the ruler feels within? So how the Ashoka wants peace to prevail in the country. And what does it say? What does it tell about the past? What are the key words? So can we trust what it says? Was the person there? So then this is also pointing out like all sources cannot be believed. So can we trust what it says? So here Ashoka is saying this inscription has been written after winning a war. And after winning a war, when the ruler says that this should not have happened. So then there is a point of trust. We can believe it. If it was a loser winner, the losing ruler who is writing it, there can be many reasons for that. Like the ruler is against the war, and what has happened is adverse to him. But here, when Ashoka is possessing everything and the whole country is his and he has won the war, still if he says it, like the inner feelings are correct, so maybe you will be. So there can be different arguments also. The children can say different things. They will be, so there will be some people say that no, this cannot be trusted. This is because like he is saying so because of these reasons. So anyway, whatever it is, there is no yes or no for it. It is just the child tries to understand things and reason it out from their point of view. What were the feelings of Ashoka after his victory in the war? So, finding out from reading through the script, the child is trying to find out what is the feeling and how he feels as a ruler after a victory of the war. What is the feeling that the ruler has? Why the ruler is speaking about the peacemaking? And why do you think would be the reasons for such a feeling? So here the child has to put himself in the or herself in the position of Ashoka and start thinking about like what could be the reasons why the ruler is feeling that this war should not have happened. There should be peace in the country, and the wars should be avoided, and there should be dharma that is prevailing. So this all these questions which we raise, the teacher can come out with many such type of questions which are value based, so that the child starts thinking about like how from various sources and from various inscriptions they are able to find out that how important peace is and how important it is to avoid the wars. Now, sorry. Now there are various cases being given. Mm, now like with respect to the judicious use of natural resources, they have given in the textbook, this is from the geography textbook, here the reference of two persons have been given in one village where the person she is feeling that it is a agriculture based society and where the goats are being cultivated, so they have a rural setup and how their family is feeding and all these narratives are being given. And there is another part of the region which has been covered in New Zealand, they are saying. One is from Africa and the other is from the New Zealand. The cases which refers to how they use this sheep and how they are running an industry, and with the latest technology, and the vegetables also are of organic farming and such type of things. So this is from the two different parts of the world, and it is all different lives that have been covered. And why there is a difference, and what is the difference in the quality of land, soil, water, natural vegetation, how the usage of technology is different, and what are the reasons for these things. So the child needs to from the narration that is being given, the child understands that the resources, there are many differences in between the region with respect to the resources and with respect to the developments that happen in these areas. Now you have pictorial representations also given. This is becomes very helpful because like when the information is given in paragraphs and long sentences, the child may not be able to retain these things. So such type of pictorial representations where they have showing how the what are the activities that happen in the agriculture field, and how the human input, what are the type of human inputs that is happening, like how they store, what is the labor, what is the machinery that is being used, the chemicals that is being used, what are the natural resources that are available, that is the physical inputs like sunshine, temperature, rainfall, soil, how the slope of the land, all these things have been shown in a pictorial representation. So such type of pictorial representation you will find in the textbook, which will give more clarity to the child about, and it will helps to retain the information also. We also have used in our textbook diagrams and charts. Like here, for example, this is regarding like the public facilities chapter where you have the economic presence of the government being held. So there is government collects money and government spends money. So what are the ways in which government spends money? This has been shown in the form of a pie diagram, where so you can relate this subject area with your mathematics learning. The child has already learned in the mathematics classroom how the pie diagram is made. You can ask them to explain what that means, the differentiated areas, when this much of amount has been spent for the subsidies, when a portion of their expenditure is given for the defense, what it means and how. What it means when it has been given to the states for spending, for the central sector schemes, how these will ensure that the public facilities are available to the people. So how the central government spends money is being given in the form of the pie diagram. This gives this pictorial representation gives them an immediate information about how the money is being spent by the central government. Such type of pictures are available in the textbook. We also have like various ways in which the public facilities are provided by the government, and this raises the side. What has been given is not related to the diagram, but I'm just explaining that also. Like there is an explanation. There is a conversation between two children happening, and where they are saying that there are no street lights in one place, and they say slums are like that only. Slums mean these things are not expected. They do not have sanitation facilities. They do not have street lights. So the other child says no. Still, they also have the right, so they also need, the government should be providing in these places. So this provokes the child to think about like be concerned about everybody. It's not that there should be some areas like slums where no facilities are there. All regions, all people have equal right for the living a decent life. So this message also is being conveyed through the conversations given. So various such type of conversation between the people, between the children are being given so that the child understands about the situation and the rights and duties of the each citizens. Now coming to the end text questions. So we have already stated there are many activities which are given inside the text, as well as there are questions which are being given at the end of the text. So this end text question is almost to have to sum up their understanding, to sum up their learning that has happened. So there are things like let's imagine there are multiple choice questions, there are match the following questions, there are fill in the blanks type, there are ticking the correct answer type. So short answer questions. Then there are activities also being given. There are points where discussions are also happening. So let's discuss column is there. Then let's do. So there are certain activities which they have been given for the children to do. So that as I have said before, inside the text also you will find such type of activities, and towards the end also you will be finding certain activities which the children can do in their classroom as well as a group activity from their individual activities at homes. Now, these are the major things which I wanted to highlight as specialty of the social science textbooks and culling out what all has is been given in the social science textbooks. So now it comes to our role as a social science teacher. What we need to do as a social science teacher. We need to create an analytical mind in our learner. We have to create an integrated and inclusive learning environment. So when we that learning environment should integrate everybody, and it should be inclusive in nature, that there should not be any child who has been left behind. So every child, the child sitting on the last bench and the child sitting from the first bench is also important for us. So our learning environment should be inclusive in nature, where we take into consideration the needs of each and every child. So the child who is not able to understand certain things, who is not able to speak up certain things, should be encouraged to speak up, should be encouraged to come forward, should not be ridiculed, so that they stay away from the learning that is happening in the classroom. Then we also need to, as a social science teacher, it's very important to contextualize the content, because all our content is related to the real life. So contextualization is very important so that the learner is able to relate every information that has been given in the social science to their everyday life. So this contextualization, this speaking about what happens in their real life is very important for a social science teacher. Then we also need to have a participatory approach. It's not a one side affair that has to happen in our classrooms. In our classroom, when we discuss certain things, there will be ample information that you will be getting from your students. Like the moment I start our classroom, like okay, now if I suppose I'm teaching the public facilities, I start the discussion with what are the type of public facilities that you have been used till now. So they will be speaking about some children will come about seating road that I use, the buses that are run by the government. So there are many things that the child has already used. So the public facility, the street lighting. So these type of things they will be speaking about. So now from that knowledge that they have, you have to start your discussion about like why it is important that the street lights have to be provided by the government, why it cannot be provided by the individuals, why it is important that the roads or the railways have to be constructed by the government, why it cannot be done by the private individual. So what are the problems associated with that, and how important it is for the government to provide such type of things. So this all these discussions can happen only when you use a participatory approach in your classroom. Otherwise, it will be only a one-sided speaking where you are just imparting an information, they are just writing it down, they are learning for the purpose of answering the questions. So this is not the competency or the skill that we need to, our learners need to acquire. We need our learners to be not just rote learn the information, they need to understand, they need to be a part of the society. So it is like making the child citizen grow as a social human being. So how this they will be interacting in the society, how they will be dealing with the society, how they are going to work in a collaborative nature. All these things can be done only if you adopt participatory approach in your classroom. It is also important as a social science teacher to draw linkages and also integrate the content from other disciplines. As I was referring when I just made an example of when we were taking the bar diagram where you're showing that the mathematics relationship between mathematics and how it can be used to depict certain scenarios. Similarly, there will be linkages between the social science subjects also, disciplines also, where you have relationship between geography and economics, how the different regions resources are different in different regions, and how the lifestyles different, how the past has been, how history shows us like the geographical differences or the economic differences in the field has led to certain historical struggles, how the why certain countries were colonized, why what were the reasons for exploiting the resources that are being there. So what happens and why the rulers were more keen to rule such type of areas where there were more amount of resources. So all these things if you are capable of making the linkages, the child will find the linkages between the subject areas, and they will be able to understand that all these things, the reasons behind the diversity, and how we'll be able to deal with the problems in the society. And we need to, as a social science teacher, we are the persons who are capable of using our subject area for inculcating the skills and the values. The skills can be creative skills, creative thinking, critical thinking, reasoning, logical thinking, collaborating with each other. Then values also like honesty, any types of values. So all these things can be imparted through the social science subject areas, and as a teacher we need to look for the opportunities where we can build upon the skills of the child and also make them acquire or imbibe these values. As a social science teacher, our main intention when we come to the assessment is to not to test what they have learned. It is to for assessment for learning. Like we need to understand what it is for helping their learning. Our assessment should be targeted for helping the children learn certain things or enhance their competencies. So unless we help our evaluative process should be in such a way that we evaluate in such a manner that the child will be learning more and also enhancing their competencies. These can be done not just through the pen paper test. There are various forms, various ways in which we'll be able to enhance their competencies and also assess their learning. This, I think, I'll just skip through because we have a lot of learning outcomes which has been explained. We have a document. You can please go through the document which is available on the website of NCERT. So the learning outcomes have been given. There are certain pedagogical process also along with that which has been given. So these are the type of pedagogical process which you can use in your classroom so that we'll be able to attain the these learning outcomes. So now, to acquire these learning outcomes, what are the how we will be able to make these changes? We need to change our pedagogy. So our teaching practices, the way we teach has to be changed. We need to use the transformative pedagogy where we use innovative teaching practices so that our children get the 21st century skills, and it should be student-centered pedagogy. It should be extending beyond the classroom. We can use various ICT tools which are available for transacting these materials in our classroom. Now, when I have said about the transformative pedagogies, like we need to know what are these transformative pedagogies. So these transformative pedagogies need to be learner-centered. It has to be integrated and also interdisciplinary in nature. So we have to, even though the textbooks are in separate textbooks have been given, still we need to integrate these subject matters when we are dealing with one particular concept. We can speak about the history when we are saying about the resources, when we are speaking about the public facilities, we can speak about the history of that, we can speak about the geography concerning that, we can speak about the economic aspects of the same concepts. Now, in your classrooms, you can use various methods, you can use, for example, simulations can be given. You can use the role play, games, case studies, storytelling methods, projects, movies, show certain movies or documentaries to your children. And these are apart from what has been given in your textbook. So this all will help in addressing the cultural, linguistic, socio-economic and learning diversities. When you show many documentaries or movies related to that, the children understand about the diversity and they learn about why it is so and how we have to, why it is important to respect the diversity. Then there is the inquiry-based constructivist approach, which has to be followed. Learning has to be problem-based. It can be place-based or community-based. So problem-based learning can be done. Then you can also go for the learning by doing. So all these requires a lot more time to explain each and every step. But I'm sure that many of you will be aware about these type of pedagogies, even though only few of you will be using it in the classroom. But it's very important for us to use these type of pedagogies in the classroom because this enhances the competency-based learning. Now, we have to, I'm again stressing on this point that we have to sow the seeds of creativity in our child. So this can be done by encouraging the students to read critically and analytically. So whenever they are reading any newspaper, ask them to bring a newspaper to their classroom, pick out any topic and discuss on it. Let them critically evaluate why this has happened. So any case study in your classroom you can bring, or the children can bring that paper cutting to the clipping to the classroom and discuss on it. So let them think critically, read it critically and also think critically and work on it analytically. So you need not give everything. That is very important. our role is not just providing information. Informations have to be constructed. Let them think about it and let them speak on it. So this make them think. That is the more important as a teacher. Then this let them ask questions so that they get original responses. So you will when you ask. Encourage them to ask questions as well as you also ask questions. Discussions happen then, and then this will help us to find out the original responses. Then give them many challenging assignments so that there is no rote memorization that is happening. Rote memorization without an understanding is it's a very big problem in our education system. So we need to give them challenging assignments so that there is no rote memorization that is happening. And that we need to include in our role plays, dramatization, presentation. So this makes their teaching learning process interesting. The children take part of it in it, and children look forward for coming to the social science classrooms, so that there are many activities that are being carried out in the classrooms. We need to learn to appreciate their creative behavior. Our children are very creative. The moment we stop encouraging them or we ridicule them, their creative behavior, their creativity stops. So we need to appreciate and encourage this creativity. And also we have many clubs and such type of activities in your classroom. There will be SUPV, Eco Club, Environment Club. There are many such activities which are going on in the classroom. So encourage your students to take part in it and let them be active in all these type of activities so that you will be, the children will be acquiring the skills and values in their from their classroom itself. So this already I have explained, we have to look for the enhancing the competencies. So with this, I think I have covered almost everything, which even though it won't be in an extensive manner, I have just touched upon the areas where we have covered in our textbook, social science textbook, and given some ideas on how you have to use these textbooks in your classroom. Now it's upon to the teachers to think over it, to ponder over it, to use all these activities and discussion points in your classroom so that our social science learner in our classroom will grow up as a global citizen who is beneficial, who has all the capabilities and competencies which is required from the classroom learning. Thank you. So with this,
Thank you,
I
madam.
stopped. Any questions or anything, we can have a discussion.
Madam, Dr. Sarita is having some query. Sarita, madam, please ask your doubts, madam.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yes.
Madam, thank you so much for your
Esther, madam, please stop your
detailed.
sharing, madam.
Yes, sir.
Madam, thank you so much for
Okay,
your
madam. Nice.
detailed description and textbook. Really, while we are translating this work, we experienced all this, what you said, But first from the first chapter, first slide, why social sciences, but how be society and how to behave in society, and how to nurture sensitivity, values, and everything we experienced. But only I have one doubt. So we translated the content as it is in Telugu in our language. While translating, we some doubts are raised in our mind. Some of them are almost all lessons in social and political life, but the content asked to referred. Last classes, it means sixth class. You are already learned in sixth class. You are already read in seventh class. But the teachers may ask how to get. How to fulfill this. If we delete that content, delete that lines, there is a little gap we found, so that we translated as it is. So that is there any remedy for it? And one more doubt, that is, many teachers, that content is, I mean, lengthy content is there. I mean, every lesson is having 30 pages of content, but all lessons are very comfortable for all type of children. I mean, convenient for the lower grade children to the upper grade, I mean, outstanding children. It gives many choices for outstanding children to go beyond the textbook. Sources are, you are already provided different sources, but what I'm asking here is the teachers, there is a little time for us, I mean, 4 or 5 periods allotted for the lesson. How can we complete this lesson within this period? This is the lengthy. Are there any pedagogical tips with you? Please share with us, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Actually, I understand your problem when you are having a translation from the word-to-word translation. Actually, this has, like, we had put these sentences in between so that the child does have a continuity, like, because the child has, assuming that the child has learned NCERT textbooks in the class 6 and 7. So they usually, what happens in our classrooms, school structure is, as soon as our final exams are over, they forget whatever they have learned in the previous classes. So they do not try to relate that it's important that in the future, like, I will be learning something about it in a more descriptive manner or in a more voluminous manner. We'll be dealing with that. So this concept does not come to the mind of the child. So that is the reason that we were trying to relate to what they have learned before. So in class 6, you have learned about these type of things. In livelihood, maybe you have covered these things. So now we are covering these aspects, which is also related to that concept. So this was the intention behind that. But I understand when the state has now adopted this textbook, maybe the learners have not learned it in the 6th and 7th standard. So that problem will be there. Either you will have to given an asterisk. I'm just suggesting on my own, like, given an asterisk that in the class 6, these were the chapters, these were the things that have been covered. Or the state can take a decision on, like, removing these lines for the time being. And later on, when you have the learner coming in the class 8, who has studied the same textbooks in class 6 and 7, then the references can be the same. But right now, either means, because that can create a confusion in the mind of the child because they have not learned these concepts probably in their state curriculum. So this issue will be a time being problem for you. And then the next was regarding the time period. I agree with you. Like, when many teachers, whenever we have sessions with the teachers have raised this point because covering of the syllabi becomes a big issue for them, and doing of the activities. Here, what I would say is, like, we have been selling from NCERT, do not consider that teaching of the syllabus is different from conducting of the activities. Activities are a part of that syllabi itself. So when I do an activity on, suppose I am saying about the public facility. So when I have a discussion on the public facility, what are the type of public facilities, and then I ask them to write down all those public facilities that you have seen in your surroundings, and or those public facilities which you have not found in your region, which you want to have. So when I say these things, and the child is writing, so individually they are writing, they are discussing in the classroom. So it takes maybe 15 more minutes for having a discussion in the classroom to discuss upon what are the type of public facilities that are available and what more needs to be done in that region. So the complete public facilities have been covered. Now that I, as a teacher, need not teach them these are the type of public facilities. The child has understood what are the public facilities. The child has understood why it is important for them to have these public facilities. So unless they understand its importance, they won't be writing these more things are required in my region. I need, means we do not have street lights in this particular area, and street lights are required. We do not have proper roads in this area, this is required. So when they are demanding, they know that the roads are to be for the use of the whole society. It need not be, means it's not the road towards my home that I am asking for. So the child understand how it is in the private facilities and how it is different from the public facilities. So these learnings can happen along with the activities. So here means providing a definition or providing a information is not the role of the teacher. The child will construct these information and they will acquire these capabilities while doing the activity itself. So don't consider imparting the syllabi or the teaching the subject as separate from the doing the activities. The moment we do the activities separately and teach the subject separately, then the teacher will have this problem of I don't get time to teach, because most of my time goes in the group activities or discussions in the classroom. So we will have to enter into that process of where we do this both the things simultaneously, and child will be constructing it, and then the child will read the textbook. Because sometimes what happens in the social science classroom is we read the textbook. Either the teacher reads the textbook or the child reads the textbook, and then the teacher explains. Do not do that. You just know what has to be imparted in this particular chapter. When I am dealing with the resources, this is what I have to deal in the classroom. So once I know that, then I will be having many activities to be done by the children. So at the end of the class, if I sum up the things, that's it. So then it's over. So unless we improve our pedagogical skills and do such type of activities in the classroom, it will be difficult to completely impart all these things. But still, I will agree with that there is a content load that happens in the social science classroom.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
Yes.
you. Ramesh sir.
Hello, sir. Ramesh, sir.
Madam, sir.
Ramesh sir, thank you so
Yes,
much for
good
having
evening, sir.
really
Madam, thank you so much for NCERT, giving us the copyright and a lot of support from NCERT, madam. Thank you so much from all the teachers from Andhra Pradesh and from SCERT, madam. Thank you so much, madam. You have given a valuable guidelines how to approach. Why? Because we are starting the NCERT. We are introducing NCERT textbooks from this academic year, madam. That too from 8th class onwards. This is the first batch, madam. Our coordinator Giribabu Garu and Sarita madam has taken a lot of pain to translate. Why? Because in Andhra Pradesh, as per our Chief Minister's instruction, we are giving the textbook in bilingual, madam. Even the student is English medium, on the right side, the same matter will be in Telugu, madam, in regional language. So a lot of efforts are going on in Andhra Pradesh, madam. Thank you so much for your support, madam. Thank you, madam.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity also. Thank you. Shall I leave?
Yes, madam. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, madam.
Ravi Garu, thank you so much.
Yes, yes. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir.